started. Hello, everybody. I think we're all members here, but in case a guest decides to listen to this whenever they get a chance, I want to formally announce that the online presenters meeting has officially started. If you want to be a member of our club, you have to be an active member or former member of Toastmasters International and have completed at least 6 Toastmasters official speeches. If you have substantial presentation experience, you may apply to be a member after demonstrating your ability in a 2 to 3 minute speech delivered at one of our club meetings. All requests for membership are subject to approval by the members of our club. If you have not already done so, please change your panel to ensure that your name and any role, if any, you are playing is displayed. Simply go to the panel with your face on it and right click, and you will see rename in order to do so. Remember, we have members and guests from many countries throughout the world. Thus, as a professional organization, we ask that you please be aware of language usage that may be considered offensive or otherwise insensitive due to cultural differences. Please note we are recording the meeting, and your video and audio can contribute to our club marketing purposes. Please, if you are not speaking, mute your microphone. And with that, please join me in welcoming to the virtual stage our club president, Lou Brown.
Thank you, Madam Sergeant at Arms. Welcome everyone to our weekly online presenters meeting. I'm wondering if today is a holiday. We seem to have less than our normal amount of members with us. So all of you out there who are not able to be with us today, we miss you. And we hope you'll be with us next week because we have a member to be. I'm not sure if I have that phrase correctly, Marianne. A person interested in becoming a member of Online Presenters. So we do need as many folks here as possible so that we can conduct a new member vote. I think that's probably the best way to put it, right, Marianne? Okay, so yes, all of you who are going to look at this replay, please join us next week, as well as all of you wonderful people here today for our new member vote. If you have recently received an educational award, level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4, level 5, or any other distinguished Toastmaster, please raise your hand. Graham, Angela, wonderful. Carolina, oh my goodness, we had a lot of them. Our wonderful Vice President of Education is unable to be with us today. With that, I would like to congratulate all of you, Graham, Angela, Carolina, and anyone else who is wondering, man, I know I do so many projects and paths and levels that I just can't keep up. They're just pouring in like crazy. So congratulations to all of you for those wonderful educational achievements. I am going to guess that we probably are right up there in the stratosphere with the clubs who just have such a continuous flow of educational achievements. This is amazing. Okay, I am not going to talk any further. I'm going to turn things over to our Toastmaster of the day, Carolina.
Thank you very much, Lou. Fellow Toastmasters, I hope you enjoyed the holiday yesterday. We celebrated the May 1st. The accomplishments and contributions of workers. This day is dedicated to the working class and encourage them to be conscious of their rights. However, there's more, according to me. Work is of great importance for the human being because it allows not only to be able to make money to pay your bills or live, but also to develop our abilities, meet people, and why not? Find happiness by contributing to society through our talents and what we love to do. It's very nice to see when you are improving someone else's life through your work. And that is something that we should celebrate and be happy because of that. And now I'm happy to announce a section that I love, the tip of the day, and Deborah is going to conduct this section of the meeting. Welcome, Deborah. Deborah, you are muted.
There we go. I'm sorry. So we'll start over again. For those of you that don't know me very well, I've been an image consultant since 1998. At the same time, I became a Toastmaster. And during this time as an image consultant, what I've done is trainings, presentations, workshops, things as that, plus coaching and consulting. I have had the best clients and fun and experiences, and some of the tips that I learned along the way, especially if you're ready to do platform work, this may be advantageous to help you out. So as knowing the rules of color, of wardrobe, of so many different aspects, some of the things that I have learned, I was able to, with the image background, I was able to put into, to help me out personally. For instance, naturally, as we're taught as Toastmasters, is that we always want to be aware of the room size, and especially if you can be aware of the color of the room, because that will help to showcase you. Most rooms are, business rooms and theaters, whatever you're going to speak in, will have a beige, a taupe, or a green walls. It's pretty standard, because that way it's easier to decorate, blah, 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 blah. With that said, if you have a neutral background, you want to have a little bit of color or a little bit of contrast in your wardrobe so you don't blend in, especially if you're really light skinned or real light haired. If, beige hair, then you won't blend in completely. It's things like that. Same with your glasses. Your glasses you want to have completely so they're non-reflective. That way you don't get the lights off, shining off and giving reflection, and they can see your face. Some people have to wear glasses all the time. Some of them don't. I wear contacts and glasses like right now at the same time. It says a lot. The other thing is if you know the size of the room, you'll know how to work the room while you're speaking, as you're scanning with your eyes. So you're not fanning, but yet you can just move slowly as you talk. Ladies, if you have dresses, make sure that you check that hemline, because if you're too close to the front, you may be giving more of a show than what you expect. The other part is naturally your gestures, because we're taught as Toastmasters, larger the room, the larger the gestures, and smaller the room, smaller group, we keep it right in close to us. The other thing that I want to go over is about your wardrobe. If you end up doing any platform work, you want to stay as not really neutral and boring, because that can be, it's like dry toast. But however, classic clothing added with just a little bit of pop or a hint and gives a whisper of, oh, and they're paying attention, but they don't know why. If you have a lot of fabric, a lot of texture, a lot of vibrant colors, that can draw away from your face. And that's what we really want people to pay attention to, is you speaking. Same with lip color. Have it subtle, but at least make sure you do have lip color on, ladies, because they'll pay attention to it. Trust me, with all that, throughout the many years that I did speak professionally, that I found that they're always going to count buttons. They're always going to make sure that your shoes are shined, and they're always going to look for something that's just a little bit different, but it's a whisper, not a shout, and it makes a tremendous difference. Your age group that you speak before naturally makes a difference too. The professional, if it's corporate level compared to the plumbers union, things like that will make a difference. but you never want to dress down just because it's a real, like the plumbers union, the auto workers, things like that. You want to make sure that you're always a step up because you're the professional. They're going to pay attention to you, of the words you're saying, and they're going to look up to you. You're always going to criticize. There's always something that they may or may not like with what they saw, but hopefully some of these tips will win them over. The other thing too is regardless of the hairstyle that you wear, showcase your face. Ladies, if you have, you don't have to pull everything back in a knot. You don't have, in a ponytail, you don't have to do that, but make sure your face is shown so people can see what you're saying. They want to truly see you. They want to experience that part. Guys, if you have a bald head, and I was a men's barber for 38 years, if you have a bald head, if you shave your head, if you have a lot of extra skin, or even ladies, if your skin is real shiny and you're going to go out on platform, just use a light amount of powder on it, just enough to wind that down a little bit. It'll make a big difference. I mentioned glasses. I mentioned also about style of clothing. What I didn't mention is, guys, every time you stand up, make sure you button your jacket. If you're wearing a jacket, you don't leave it open, and especially if it's I can't think of the name of it. Oh well. Anyway, always make sure your jacket's buttoned. You unbutton it when you sit down. Ladies, the main thing for you is just to pay attention to the skirt length, because that'll make a big difference too. I was really fortunate in the years that I barbered that I had some, all my clients were great. There was one guy and his wife that were really quite special to me. And it was Bill Harris of ABC News, and he was the local news anchor. So I asked Bill, I said, do you still get nervous? Do you ever get nervous? And he said, oh, Deb, I've been at this for 40 years. He said, I get nervous every day. Every time I go out on camera, I get nervous. And I said, okay, really? And he said, yeah. And he said, if you remember, because I was we stayed friends after I left barbering. And he said, if you just remember when you go to walk out, give him that smile as you walk across platform, smile. And if you have an open smile, you can take a deep breath, which will relax your lungs. It'll relax your whole body as you do that and walk across. Make sure the other part is to make sure that you don't have anything in your left hand, or I'm sorry, in your right hand when you walk out, because you're going to be shaking hands. If you have notes, hopefully your notes are on platform, but if not, make sure they're on your left hand so you can shake hands as you approach it. The other thing that Bill was really great about.
Deb,
yes.
It's supposed to be 3 to 5 minutes and you're over 7. So
oh, I'm sorry.
Can you try and wrap up? Or
finish your thought. That was what I was going to do right then. I'm sorry. Really bad. Anyway, the last thing that Bill shared with me that was absolutely fabulous that I never forgot is he said, Deb, I said, what? He said, even the big guys fall and we make mistakes. But he said, just never forget to turn off your lapel mic when you go into the bathroom. Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, Deborah. Very useful, the tip of the day. David, you are the timer. Tell us about your role. You're already
yeah, my role is to be
working.
rude to people who are in the middle of making a good point. But at the lower threshold for each speech or activity, we will see a green light, and usually it is for table topics. It would be 1 minute, you'll see the green. At 1:30, you'll see the yellow. And at 2 minutes, you'll see the red. We give you a 30-second buffer so you can run the red light by a little bit, but you do need to be starting to slow down when you see that red come on up. So for the speeches, I think our speeches are all 5 to 7 minutes. Please correct me if there's any difference, but that would be 5 green, 6 yellow, 7 red.
This is Adrienne. I'm doing 4 to 6.
You go over 4 to 6? Okay, great.
Yes, icebreaker.
Right. Okay, sure.
Thank you very much, David. I love the cards. A counter is Pamela Benjamin. Pamela, can you tell us your role?
I will be listening for ahs, ums, filler words, and anything that will help us get to the next level with our speaking.
Thank you very much. Grammarian Lou Brown. Welcome, Lou.
Thank you. As grammarian, I'm looking or listening for colorful phraseology, colorful sentences, words that we don't use every day, and also incorrect usage of grammar or anything that catches my ear, being that I'm a statistics major, not an English major. This is a very challenging role for me, but I will do my best. The word of the day is flummox. And I'll put this information in the chat. F-L-U-M-M-O-X, flummox. It is a verb, to bewilder, to confound, to confuse. Why we don't use the word flummox as often as word of the day in our club really flummoxed me. Back to you.
Thank you very much, Lou. I didn't know that word. Very useful to me. Our watcher today is Adrian. A double role, I think, Adrian.
Yes, my job is
Thank
going
you
to
for
be to
that.
watch. My job is going to be to watch you guys and see how you guys are conducting yourselves in the meetings. So if you are drinking something special in your cup, make sure we don't see the label.
Thank you very much. Chat monitor, Deborah Carr, double role as well. Welcome again, Deborah.
Now I can breathe. I will be watching the chat to see if there should be links added to it for different things that people share with us, or if there's anything that I need to point out, so you can save the chat if you decide to.
Thank you very much. And now we need two volunteers. The first one for vote counter, and the second one, someone willing to evaluate Graham's speech. Volunteers for vote counter? Johnny?
I'll volunteer to evaluate a speech, not count votes.
Okay, for Graham's speech. Thank you very much. And we need a volunteer for both counter, Carol. Welcome, Carol, to explain your role.
I count the votes.
Great. Thanks for that. Now, my favorite part of the meeting, the prepared speeches. Our first speaker is working in the effective coaching level 1, effective coaching path level 1, mastering fundamentals. She's a real estate broker with over 20 years of experience in the financial services industry. She's a past corporate controller and is working towards certification as a counselor. Today, she's presenting her icebreaker, the title, Coaching versus Counseling. Welcome, Adrian Williams.
Fellow Toastmasters and distinguished guests, I want to welcome you to my office. There is such an increase of numbers of people that are confusing us. Are they coaches? Are they counselors? I had to figure it out myself. As I go through my training, I'm currently in the process of training to be a biblical counselor. And so it kind of falls in the middle of the counseling world and the coaching world. There is always a problem. So I believe I'm going to have to find myself explaining to these people which role I'm currently playing. And so I'm going to tell you a little bit about the differences today and the similarities between counseling and coaching. And you can feel free to reverse it. You can do coaching to counseling, counseling to coaching. It really doesn't matter because most of us are confused. We don't know what it is. And unfortunately, most people, especially entrepreneurs, we love to claim titles. We're coaches one day, we're counseling. And sometimes they will even slip and say, maybe you need a therapist. Maybe you don't need counseling, coaching, or therapy, or both. And in some cases, you may actually use all three. The differences with coaching. And I was thinking, how could I really distinguish these things? The motivation. If you're going to have counseling, Usually it's pain driven. Something's happened to you. You might have had a traumatic experience. Someone may have died. Something happened and you need help walking through that pain. However, if it's coaching and I'm your coach, in that case, I may be helping you to reach some potential that you say that you need. If I'm counseling you, we're talking about time. How much time is this going to take and what time are we talking about? Well, most of the time, counseling is about what happened in the past. Some of us get stuck in the past. You met these people. They tell you the same story over and over. When this happened to me, I was 5 and this happened again, and they're 50 years old, still telling you a story about something that's happened to them at 5. You need to say, you might want to go to counseling. Now, if I'm trying to get myself somewhere in the future, I want to be a corporate CEO, and I'm right now an accountant, that is a great opportunity to go and get coaching. The coach is going to help me come and accomplish those things that I need in the future. What kind of focus am I going to use? If I'm going to be in counseling, I'm probably going to be dressed like this, right? Like a professional. I am there to help treat some type of disorder that might have happened. It might be schizophrenia. If I am in a coaching session, I might be helping you create something based on your own abilities, something you want to create or do better with your own possibilities. Some possibilities that's, of course, in the future, like we've already discussed. Education-wise, if you're counseling, you know you can't just go print out no cards and hand them to someone and say that you're a counselor. No. You need to have some education. You need a degree. You need to have licensing. You need to have hours. If you're coaching, you don't need anything. No specific education, no formal training. I can just print up my cards, write out my name and say, hey, I'm a coach. I can coach you from A to B. Wherever you're trying to go, I'm going to be able to help you through those journeys. Now, one thing that's common to both, we have to have client confidentiality in both counseling and coaching. We also have to be able to communicate effectively with counseling and coaching. I need to be clear in what I'm telling you. I need to be an active listener to pay attention to you. It always operates best face-to-face. The most times now we're virtual. I can still do face-to-face, and it helps me to be engaged, to have empathy, and to be concerned with what you're talking about. And it's also our responsibility to track your progress, to help you get through those things that you say that you need help with. Now, what kind of things you might be saying? What do I need help with? Well, in the chat, if you guys can put something in the chat that tells me a little bit about what you think you would be going to get help in any particular area. It doesn't matter if it's coaching or counseling, some problem that you face that you need to overcome. Someone said eating better. Another one might be weight loss. So an example, some people say more money. Okay, so if I were working on something like eating better, that's something that we can work on. That's a realistic goal that we can accomplish. There's no particular training we need to do in that. You can pretty much go and know that if you start juicing, doing greens, you can get a holistic doctor. Those are things and steps that can help you reach a healthy lifestyle. If we're talking about procrastination, then those are things that you can help too. And we can come up with little exercises and give you assignments that can coach you for that. But if you came to me and you said, Adrian, I have been planning out how I'm going to leave this earth. I am tired of this situation I'm in. My husband's died. I can't do this on my own. I am by myself. That is a 911 situation. And you need a professional person that's licensed in that area to help you with. That is a situation where you would need counseling from a therapist, someone that can help you, direct you to where you need to go right now. That wouldn't be a good time to be at your friends talking about getting coaching. If you have chronic illnesses, that's something that's diabetes, that can be easily resolved. If you're looking for a job skills, That's something easy that could be resolved. Those are coaching things. But if it's something very serious that's going to affect your capability of moving forward, that requires a counselor. So fellow Toastmasters, remember that. The next time you need something, you need to be sure if you need a counselor or a coach. Thank you, fellow Toastmasters.
Thank you very much, Adrienne. Great speech. Our second speaker, he's working in the path Innovating Planning, level 3, the project Increasing Knowledge. And he's working in the stage or the project Know Your Sense of Humor. The title of his speech is Shoelaces. Welcome, Andriy Smolenko.
One of the most difficult things I ever done is to teach my 14-year-old daughter to tighten her shoelaces. Hello, fellow online presenters and guests. Let me tell you a story, a nice story about me teaching my daughter, who is 14, to tighten her shoelaces. Well, I know it can be, a little bit embarrassing considering the age of this young lady, and embarrassing for me. How could I, Dad, in all my might, just didn't do it properly? That was a horrible ordeal to go through. But anyways, I realized I had to do it. I had to put stop to every single time coming back from school, shoelaces all untied. What could I do? Well, I'm a single dad, and from time to time, I like to have fun like that. They're my daughter and her 3 friends, all having fun, covering their faces because I was going to talk about tightening their shoelaces. Exactly. So on my journey, I've tried persuasion, I've tried bribery, I've tried fear. You have to do it. With teenagers, things just don't work. Well, on my quest of teaching my daughter how to properly put the shoelaces, I come across this book, Viktor Frankl, Man's Search for Meaning. What would you ask such a deep, thoughtful book has got to do with my daughter shoelaces? Well, I'll tell you what, the interesting thing I found in this book is called Paradoxical Intention. The simple meaning of that, as the author explained, was, for example, someone who has got a fear of sleeplessness. They're just so concentrated that they're going to be sleepless that they cannot fall asleep. So the author suggested to their patient to concentrate on trying to not to fall asleep. Keep yourself awake, and then magic happens. Very easily, patients can be treated. So, well, in that case, if my daughter has got a fear of putting her shoelaces right, then what I can do? Well, perhaps I can use this sophisticated term and really help her to put these shoelaces right. Well, I decided to test it in practice. I normally take my daughter to her school and drop her off in quite a busy public place, full of people. Then she gets out of the car, gets to her tram stop, catches the tram to take her to school. At the same time, my son sits with me in the car. And it was just a normal Monday morning, my daughter getting out of the car, of course, getting into the crowd, and then, Sophia! What? She turns around. Shoelaces! Oh, yes. Imagine being a teenager, public humiliation. I thought that would work, as in a book. Guess what? It didn't. Every single morning when I was dropping my daughter off at such a busy public place, shoelaces. Every time she was coming back from school, shoelaces undone. I just wanted to quit. I thought as a failure. Me and shoelaces. Shoelaces were winning that battle. Until one day, my daughter and son had a fight. My son is 10, daughter is 14, the usual bickering. Oh, you did that. Oh, you did that. And then you did that and that and that. Dad, he said that. Dad, he said that. And then my son said a magical, absolutely mesmerizing phrase to his sister. At least I'm not a 14 and my dad is not screaming at me, tighten your shoelaces. He was the winner of that battle. And, you know, it wasn't me who helped my daughter to put her shoelaces right. It wasn't that sophisticated way of playing with minds. No, it wasn't me. It was her brother. It was my daughter's brother who loved her so, so much. Then he decided to help her, embarrass her. If it wasn't for my son, I would still probably now go to that busy place and shout, Sophia, shoelaces! Back to you, Madam Toastmaster of the evening.
Thank you, Andrew, for your speech. Good techniques with your children. Our last speaker is working the presentation mastery level 1, mastering fundamentals. In this presentation mastery path, our next speaker is practicing the skills of professional speaking on board cruise ships. Today, his project is to write a speech with purpose, and the purpose is to inform and entertain cruise ship passengers on one of their favorite activities, eating. The title of this speech is Eating on a Cruise Ship. Welcome, Graham Kearns.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. Fellow Toastmasters and guests, I'm going to be breaking the fourth wall a couple of times during this presentation because I need to set some groundwork. We are all on a cruise ship. We are currently sailing between Sydney and the Great Barrier Reef of Australia. So that's who we are. Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome aboard. My name's Graham Kearns, and I'm going to be delivering your presentation today on eating on a cruise ship. Can I ask a question? Who here is on their first cruise? Can I get a show of hands from everybody? Who here has been on more than one cruise? What's the one lesson that we all should have learned? Even those who are on our first cruise, you've probably been warned about this. I do hope that you've got pants that have lots of elastic in them because they will need to stretch by the time we get off this cruise ship. If you get the opportunity over the next 7 days to do one of the behind the scenes tour of this ship, please make sure you do. One of the highlights will be the Galley Tour. For those of us who've never worked in a commercial kitchen, it is genuinely eye-opening. It's not just the scale, although I have to say the size of the galleys is astounding, but it's also the Herculean task involved. Imagine trying to feed 2,000 passengers in a 3-hour period with up to 40 different menu items. Now imagine trying to do that 3 times a day. On larger vessels than this one, say the Symphony of the Seas, for example, it can be 3 times that many. As I say, it is truly a Herculean task. The amount of food that is prepared is quite astonishing. A ship this size of about 2,500 passengers, 1,000 crew, that's 3,500 people who have to be fed every day with supplies that can only be brought on when we are on shore. So in a typical week, this ship, for example, will normally use 20,000 eggs and 2 tons of chicken, whichever comes first. There'll be 3 tons of beef that we'll all eat, 200 kilos of coffee, 100 slices of pizza every hour. Add a ton of bacon, the same amount of French fries, 2 tons of cheese, 7,000 croissants daily, and 80 different variety of vegetables, although some of us aren't going to eat because, well, we're on a cruise ship. Who wants to eat veggies? But you can see that it is a bit busier than your average home kitchen. But as I say, it's not just the scale, although it is impressive, the scale. It's also the diversity of the menus and the skills of the staff. At this point, I would bring up a slide of one of these galleys. Like all restaurant kitchens, cruise ships have an executive chef, a sous chef for each of the galleys, and there are generally a number of galleys on board, plus senior chefs, sauce chefs, pastry chefs, and more, plus all of the usual line cooks and bakers and kitchen hands and ancillary staff. It's probably no great surprise, given the nature of cruise ship passengers, that pastry chefs play a very important role. After all, desserts are a must on a cruise ship, aren't they? And here I would show a photo of some of the desserts which we have already had on this cruise. But here's something I hadn't thought of, but perhaps should have. It was drawn to my attention that the menus are not created by the chefs here on board, or at least not on their own. Due to the sheer scale of the provisions required and the expense of expensive wastage, menus are scientifically created back in the cruise company's head offices, and those menus are very carefully structured. I'd bring up a slide here of a menu, which would then go on to say, for those who can't read the fine print in this photo, here are the menu instructions for the mussels with garlic and black pepper, which will be served tomorrow night. The ingredient list includes 30 grams of mussels per serve, 25 grams of white wine, 10 mils of soybean seed oil, right down to the amount of fresh parsley that will be used. Now, this was prepared by the cruise line's corporate chef, verified by the quality and compliance manager, and approved by the cruise line's CEO. And it was for just one starter to be served on day 4 of a 7-day cruise. Of course, there are opportunities for the executive chef and his team to show off. If you are offered the opportunity to do the chef's table on this cruise, again, it's really worth the money. One-off delicacies and service that is extraordinary. But even if you're just eating the buffet, grabbing a quick bite before dashing off to another shipboard activity, like, for example, these lectures, the process is largely the same as in the main dining rooms or the specialty restaurants. In fact, you'll probably notice that many of the wait staff in the buffets are exactly the same wait staff that serve you and seat you and suggest your desserts at night. And don't even get me started on the specialty restaurants, because we could be here forever. There are, for example, on this ship, 5 separate specialty restaurants. They will cost you a little extra, but they will cost you less than you would pay for a similar experience on shore, because you won't be eating in the main dining room if you're in the specialty restaurant. And so the cost is brought down to compensate for that. Ladies and gentlemen, we all enjoy eating on cruise ships. One of the suggestions that I can make as a veteran cruiser is use the stairs wherever possible, because you're going to need the exercise. And if you didn't buy any elastic-sided pants, then perhaps when we get to our first port, you should check them out. Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, Graham. Now I'm wondering, how many kilos do you gain when you go to a cruise ship? I've never been on one. David, are all of the speakers qualified? All the speakers qualified?
Actually, Adrian ran over by a little bit, but Andriy and Graham are both within time. I posted them in the chat.
Thank you very much, David. Now it's time to vote, and you can send your vote to Carl, please. by a private message, by the chat, via chat. Now it's the opportunity to speak for everyone. Be prepared to give your give an impromptu speech. And the person who is going to help us with the next section, table topics, is Angela Heath. Welcome, Angela.
Hello, fellow Toastmasters and honored friends. We are celebrating International Workers' Day, which was yesterday in many countries. And I had to look it up a little bit. I knew a little bit about May Day, but I didn't know much. And I must tell you, I was so flummoxed when I read that in 1884 in the US, that's when they started the 8-hour workday. How many hours were they working before then? I wanted to know. And some of them were literally falling dead on the job. So that's why this is an important day. So for table topics, we want to talk about that. And how we'll do it is I am going to have some photos. I'll have some photos that I want you to tell us what is the worker doing and why should we be celebrating workers who do these kinds of tasks. So for our first person, it almost looks like everyone has a job today. I don't see anybody without one. So I'm just going to go eeny, meeny, miny, mo, and whoever I pick, it's on you to respond to this photo. So I would say our first person to tell us, what are they doing and why should we celebrate them? Lee-Sing, let's let you have a shot at it. Here's a worker. What is this worker doing and why should we celebrate this worker? Lee-Sing.
Thank you, Angela. And that is a worker. She's doing cleaning. I always feel like we really should give more credit to people who doing the cleaning. In this world, I see them in my university. I see them always working, always while they're working, they're singing, they seem so happy. I always feel that this university cannot be without them, but can go to their normal business without me, probably for a particular day, but without them, our environment is going to be so messy and so dirty. And therefore, I think really we need to celebrate our janitors. And right now we call them beautifying officer. I think that's a really beautiful name to give the people, to honor the people who help us so much. Even their work look like very simple, but is really utmost important for everyone to function in their particular roles. In this particular day of International Neighbors Day, I propose let's salute all those who serve us and all those who work and all those who support themselves. Back to you, Madam Table Topic Master.
Thank you, Lee-Sing. I agree. There's so many professions that we take for granted, and not just in the United States or in the UK, all over the world. There are just so many. Now, I was surprised about this one group of workers who are not being paid enough, in my estimation. And so, Joni, I'm going to ask you to tell us about this particular worker. What did they do? And why should we celebrate them? The floor is yours. You're on mute, Joni.
My favorite phrase so far. The wheels on the bus go round and round, round and round, round and round. The wheels on the bus go round and round, all through the town. The kids on the bus go up and down, up and down, up and down. Kids on the bus go up and down, all through the town. I'll never forget the importance that was placed on that specific job. It has an overreaching function. One, it's carpooling, so parents don't actually have to take their kids to school, but there's a level of trust that's needed with that specific job. That person would have to have the trust of every single mother, father, grandma, aunt, sister, and friend of each child that would go onto that bus. The beauty of it is that even as kids, we were taught the importance of being transported by this person and how important it was to sit there, behave, and have respect. I saw a story online. I tell everyone, hashtag is life. I am about that social media life. About a bus driver who found out about every single child that he took to school. And for Christmas, he bought a present for each and every one of the children that he transported. They make sure you get there on time. They're the first line and the person who knows who wasn't going to school and why, who was late, whose shoes weren't done properly, who didn't have their school bag. They're the ones who connect the children from home to school. And they have to do all of that while staying focused and driving. And I have one child, and I can tell you sometimes it feels like 5. So I respect how much focus it takes to drive around 150 children behind you to get them safely from home to school. Back to you, Madam Tabletop Master.
Thank you. Thank you. And you know, there's this whole group of workers. We don't see them very often, and we don't even respect the work that they do until they're not available. And it happened during this pandemic. So Bhavani, why don't you take a look at this worker? Tell us, what do they do and why should we celebrate them?
Yeah, during COVID pandemic, they are real hard workers, to especially transportation of medicines and transportation of people, and which we don't really recognize them because they are always behind the scenes. We need to celebrate because they drive long hours and on different temperatures, different environments. They drive night times, which they don't have much sleep sometimes. They don't have good food. So I happen to be volunteering for one organization where we used to supply food during COVID. I could see their faces, how happy they are, because at that time during pandemic, they didn't have proper facilities of food. No hotels, no restaurants where they could get food on the go. A lot of organizations helped, and I funded them. I volunteered to prepare the meals and give it to them. So there I found real meaning of the workers who are driving huge trucks to deliver the goods. At the pandemic, I realized it's an eye-opener for me. So a lot of other people whom we don't see it regularly, but we know to be honored them and their services. So because of them, we survived during pandemic. Thank you very much, Toastmaster.
Thank you. I think we have time for one more. Toastmasters, is that true?
Yes,
okay,
that's true.
Great. Now this next worker. Some of you were applauding during the pandemic, but some of you were not, because some of you didn't really believe in the work that they were doing. And so, Mary Ann, tell us who this worker is and tell us why they should be celebrated.
I believe that this person is the person who is working on and fine-tuning and creating the vaccine, the one that has protected so many of us and that a lot of people are afraid to take. I, for one, am somebody who is immune compromised. So when that came out, I couldn't wait to get it. And I am already up to my 4th booster shot now. So I am really happy that we have people like that who can figure things like that out, because you know it's way beyond this brain, I can tell you that. And I am really grateful and happy that there are people that can do such wonderful things in the world through medicine. So that is why we should celebrate those people. Back to you, Angela.
Thank you, Mary Ann. So basically, in conclusion, all workers need to be celebrated. Those who we see all the time, some we only see sometime. You know, it doesn't matter what they do. You know, you've got a flat tire on the side of the road. You know, your house catches on fire, or your kids need to be taught, or your grandchildren, or mothers, AKA superwomen. Let's celebrate them all. It is International Workers' Day, and we're going to celebrate it the entire week. Back to you, Toastmaster of the Day.
Thank you very much, Angela. That was a beautiful message. David, I can see that you are posting the times on the chat, but are all the speakers qualified?
Well, technically, Marianne didn't quite make it to the green, so we would vote for the 3 others: Lei Sing, Joni, or Bhavani.
Thank you very much, David. You can send your vote to Carl by private message. Feedback is a gift, and this section is very important because all of us need some feedback, and our fellow Toastmaster is going to help us to improve during this section. And the person who is going to help me to conduct this section is Sarah Idehen. Welcome, Sarah.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. As general evaluator, I take a great look at the meeting from start to finish to see how well we have done, and we have helpers to help me through that. I will be leading the evaluation section and highlighting extraordinary items that I have noticed throughout the meeting. First, I would like to call on some of my helpers, and I will give my little evaluation at the end. Our grammarian today is Louis Brown. Please help me welcome Louis Brown with a grammarian report.
Madam GE, a point of order. We should start with the
evaluations. Evaluations. Sorry about that. Thank you.
Perhaps you were flummoxed.
Yes, I was.
No
Very
worries.
much Thank you. We had some fantastic speakers tonight, and now we're going to hear the evaluations of those speakers. Our first speaker was Adrienne Williams, and her evaluator is Richard Durling. Please help me welcome Richard for that evaluation.
Good evening, fellow Toastmasters, and especially Adrienne. Adrienne, I wished I had some of the enthusiasm that you expressed through the pacing, the way you used your voice, and especially your facial expressions. You demonstrate enthusiasm because of those tools that you use without, I don't even think you think about them. So I have to compliment you. I will compliment you. Well done in that space. A couple of examples of the kinds of things that I experienced listening to you with the way that your pacing was going. You had somewhat of a rapid pace, but when you got to something you wanted to express that was serious, not only did your pace slow down just slightly, but your voice dropped in tone. Because of that, you really highlighted through that technique how well or how serious the particular items that you were talking about were. And I noticed that counseling was something that you felt was serious. Coaching is still serious, but it has a different tone to it. So very well done in that space. I also liked your use of associating a hat to coaching. It makes total sense to me. Put on a hat to try to help somebody, and a coach tends to wear a hat. An excellent use of a prop. Another thing that you did very well, but I do want to talk about it as something that you might want to consider, is your eye contact. You generally were looking at the camera. So that was also an excellent thing. Now, here are some ideas for you, just some things I'm going to throw out there and see if you want to try them out. You are currently using expressions and to give emotion, or to convey emotions and get your points across, to get ideas out there. But one of the things that would really help is bringing your gestures so that we can see them better. I suggest to you being able to reposition yourself in front of the camera or moving the camera back from wherever you're sitting, standing, or whatever will make it possible for your gestures to become part of your speech. It is a great technique to add to an already commanding use of your voice, pace, and vocal variety to bring those sorts of things to the table. Now, one of the things that I observed with you was you had good eye contact, but you were looking off to the side. I don't think you were looking at anything in particular, but you were moving your eyes. And that is fine. And it brings to the table, there is a very significant difference between giving a speech in person versus giving that speech virtually. When you're in person, you really want to move your eyes from one person to another in the audience to establish connection with them. Unfortunately, on video, the only person that you can establish contact with is the camera. And in looking at the camera and focusing on it, it's something that makes that contact possible. So here's a suggestion for you. It's something to take this way over the top. You're already doing good eye contact, but if you have an opportunity to give some speeches in person, really practice that moving around the room and looking at people. And then when you come back to video, remember that the camera is your friend. All in all, a good speech. I'm looking forward to future ones from you. Thank you for your speech this evening.
Thank you, Richard. Speaker number 2 was Andriy Smolenko, and his evaluator is Mary Ann Grady. Please help me welcome Mary Ann for that evaluation.
Thank you, Madam General Evaluator, and good evening, fellow Toastmasters and Andriy. Andriy, tonight you gave us a title of a speech that was kind of curious when we first started. Who would have guessed you were talking about your 14-year-old daughter and not tying her shoes? So you roped us in right off the bat. You are an excellent storyteller as well. You always kind of lay things out very carefully, so we all want to follow along. Tonight, though, you talked about Viktor Frankl's Man's Search for Meaning and Paradoxical Intention. I don't believe you needed the book in there because I felt like it kind of took us away from your story a little bit. You could have mentioned the paradoxical intention without the slide of the book. You gave us examples of how you tried to publicly humiliate poor Sophia. You tried persuasion, bribery unsuccessfully, and you just really seemed flummoxed. You said you felt like a failure. Some of the things, though, your topic tonight was supposed to be to find your sense of humor. And I think you had a few missed opportunities on the humor side, because really it's a pretty strange thing having a 14-year-old not doing your shoes. So like maybe using voices and maybe kind of a little more expression around the frustration you felt. And maybe even when your son and daughter were talking back and forth, you know, kind of doing the voices and talking back and forth between them, so we can kind of see the tension building. And then he finally just says, well, at least I'm not 14 years old having my father tell me, you know, to tie my shoes. So a little bit of more of the voice and the feeling of the characters. But I thought it was a pretty fun topic for you tonight, or a fun speech. And as always, you are taking us along on a great story. So thank you, Andriy, and back to you, Madam General Evaluator.
Thank you, Mary Ann. Our third speaker was Graham Kearns, and his evaluator was Joni Laidlaw. Please welcome Joni for Graham's evaluation.
Thank you, Madam General Evaluator. Toastmaster Graham, I would call your speech Tony Hanmick fashion. Now, as everyone knows, I have to take my Jamaican with me. That's a proverb. And what does that mean? It means that necessity is the mother of all invention. I like the way that you did demonstrate the planning and the strategies that goes into preparing meals for thousands of people at sea. Your pace and tone were excellent. I could follow you very easily. Your gestures, superb. I love the audience engagement. It was my first time. I had to get in character. I had to be sitting here listening to you as you spoke. What could have made your speech better? You actually alluded to it. If you're going to take the tour, you said here I would have slides. Now the beauty of Zoom is that you don't need them. Here I am on the gallery tour. Here I am in the buffet. And here I am right back listening to you. I spent a lot of time looking at you, wondering if you're in the sea or in the galley. And I don't think we get charged for plagiarism if we're using it in a Toastmasters meeting, just if we're doing it on a grand scale. I loved your use of humor. It drew me in and it made it stick. If you can make me laugh, I will always remember. Herculean task was also a phrase that I also liked, and I almost love trying to say it. Herculean task. Say that 3 times fast. I loved when you said, who wants to eat veggies or take the stairs or the elastic pants? Now you can't see me touching my tummy, swollen to the level that I do believe your insinuation would bring if I was on that tour, but I could tell you your imagery and your visuals demonstrated to me so much how mouth-wateringly good it would be and how much I have to appreciate the level of preparation that goes into providing such great culinary experiences. Love the speech, love the arrangement. Only suggestion, remember, we're in the virtual space. We can change it just by clicking on another background. Keep up the great humor. Awesome speech. Back to you, Madam General Evaluator.
Thank you, Joni. Now, thanks all those beautiful evaluations. And also next we'll have our grammarian, which is Lou Brown, and he will tell us how well we did the word of the day and other things. Please welcome Lou.
Thank you, Madam GE. As far as word of the day, I heard it used by Angela, Sarah, Mary Ann, Graham in the chat. If I happen to miss anyone, I must have been flummoxed during my note taking. Feel free to raise your hand. Some great word choice, phrase usage from Adrian. Use the word empathy. Always love that word. A 911 situation. Easily understandable what that means. Andriy, fear brings about what one is afraid of. I'm not sure if that was a Viktor Frankl quote. I saw it written on one of your slides. I thought that was very good. Graham, breaking the fourth wall. I have no idea what that means. I mean, I have a sense of what it means. I just never heard it before. And as Joni pointed out, Herculean task. Lots of great phrase usage related to the table topics this evening in terms of saluting all of those who serve us, kudos to those heroes, et cetera, et cetera. Rick used commanding use. And Joni, if you can make me laugh, I will always remember. I will always remember that quote. Back to you, Madam GE.
Thank you, Mr. Grammarian. At this time, we have our all counter, Pamela Benjamin. Please welcome Pamela.
We did really well tonight. I was listening carefully. I did not hear ahs and ums. So very, very good work.
Thank you, Madam All Counter. At this time, we'll hear our timer, David Carr.
Yes, we actually had Rick went a little bit long and Marianne came up a little bit short. So Joni wins by default.
Thank you. At this time, we hear from our vote counter. Do we hear it at this time or another time? The vote counter, the winners.
I can announce it, or would the Toastmaster
Yes.
like to?
Yes, please, Carl. Announce the
Okay.
winners.
Very well. Well, as we already know, best evaluator is Joni. The best table topics is, just for a change, Joni. And our best speaker for this evening is Andriy.
Woo.
You, Mr. Vote Counter. I'd just like to say, as we started off very well. Angela, with all her enthusiasm, got us off to a great start. And then we heard from Deborah Carr, who gave us all kinds of tips of how we can be better presenters and make a better presentation of ourselves in that. Then we had wonderful speakers. There was a great variety in all of the speeches, from whether or not you need a coach or a counselor, or whether or not you can get your shoes tied. I was a little flummoxed by all of the food that's needed on a cruise ship, almost a spaceship. And we just had so many good things tonight, so many conversations. And the evaluators were fantastic, giving us points to work on, points that went well, which is what we need, because in Toastmasters, you always need that tip that make you get a little bit better. And finally, for the challenges, I think if we just take a little bit more time to pay attention to the timer, to make sure he's in our view, so that we can make sure we stay in time and we have a good chance of being in the winner's circle if we are there on time. Back to you, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you very much, Sarah. Wonderful job. And congratulations to the winners and everyone who participated in the meeting, everyone. And I'd like to pass the meeting to our president to close the meeting.
Thank you very much, Toastmaster of the Day. I was just reading Graham's comment in the chat, and now I recall that I do remember that phrase from somewhere. So yes, it could have been in a book I was reading actually just recently, a Dr. Joe Dispenza book. Anyway, awesome meeting. Thank you all for being here. I am really happy that we had a few more folks show up after we started. It must have been only a few moments. I remember seeing there was about 13, 14 or so, and now we see about 17. So that is much closer to our average. And perhaps we had a couple of folks as a consequence of that being able to take over some roles. I do realize we didn't have the watchers report. I imagine that's why Adrian had her hand up, and I was thinking of that too. I did not see that written next to anyone's name. So Madam Toastmaster, I imagine we did not have a watcher. Is that true?
I am the watcher.
Oh, so sorry. I saw speaker when. That's right. You were doing double duty. Okay.
Sorry about that.
A little bit. Sorry. Watchers report, Adrian.
Yeah, it's very quick. I thought everybody did a great job with the backgrounds. I really love that. It brings some energy to the meeting. And one thing I really liked, that there were several people that changed their background according to the speakers. And I thought that was really cool. That happened during Graham's speech. And I thought that was great because it literally put us on the boat at the time. The one thing I would like to say is some of you have a shadow. And the way you get rid of the lighting, because you look dark on the screen, you put your lighting behind the camera, and that helps illuminate your face so that you don't look dark. And so that's the one tip that I think people need to do, is really make your face clear, because it looks washed out and flush. And that's it. Other than that, everybody else did a great job.
Thank you. And that is, I am in that category. I see that I'm very dark. I normally have my ring lights right over here, and I just got lazy as I signed on real quickly and just kind of ran for it. So, but I
And
can
a
see
lamp.
how much of a difference it makes. It's amazing when I have those lights on, bing, bang, boom. I look like I'm in Hollywood.
A
Awesome.
little table lamp will work when you don't have those ring lights, because I don't have a ring light and I have good lighting.
Oh, wonderful. And this, my friends, is also a great reason why we put our roles next to our names so that we'll all remember it. And Adrian, I know
Sorry.
that, no, this is not this is really for the fact that when I attended a few of my other clubs, nobody puts their roles next to their names, even when I serve as Toastmaster and ask folks to do it, because it is very hard to keep up with that. And I know you're doing double duty tonight. Quite frankly, you probably would have been off the screen if you had written all of that you were working on. So no, thank you for the reminder, for the raising the hand and reminding us of that report. Or am I blind? I just see it now. Was I actually blind and not seeing that? Oh my
I
goodness.
just added it to see if
Oh.
it would fit.
I'm thinking, oh my God, now maybe I have dementia early.
No, you were
onset.
right.
Whew. Okay, so again, thanks everyone for being here. Appreciate it. We do have Bhavani. I don't know if Marianne had gotten in touch with you. Where is Marianne? Did
Yeah,
Marianne? Okay.
I just
I
got
don't. Okay, wonderful. Because folks, Bhavani is our interested party who would like to be a part of our Toastmasters family. So we, and Bhavani, I apologize, we were not able to go forward with the new member vote tonight, but we will certainly do that next week. Does anyone have any announcements or anything to make? I was not here last week myself, but I would like to give a big hearty congratulations, if that wasn't already done, to David Carr for an incredible EVVCon experience. And I'm still going through some of the replays myself since we had multiple things going at once, but David, really stellar event. I just can't say enough about it. Wonderful job.
Thank you. And as you mentioned, there are replays. So,
Okay.
I mean, I didn't actually see much of it while I was there because I was running around trying to make sure things were organized, which in some cases they weren't quite as well organized as we wanted them to be. But there's a lot of great content there. Mike Carr was wonderful, and he introduced the contest, which of course Angela won.
Congratulations, Angela.
Angela won the contest.
Thank you.
And it's worth going back and looking at some of the other sessions as well.
Yeah, I agree. The ones I attended were really fantastic. I was like, wow, it was very hard to choose. So I definitely have to go back and look at some of the other ones. And yes, congratulations again to Angela. Awesome job. Wonderful. Okay, with that, I will call our meeting officially to a close. Feel free to stick around after. We normally ask folks to perhaps feel free to stop the recording if you like. Who can